Hello everyone, today we're going to go over my deck profile for Eldlich, which is kind of inspired by two different decks other people have made, and spicing up my own. We'll go through it all, I'll explain to you how it works, just in case you're kind of new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Like myself. And yeah, I'll just take you through my deck. So, of course, the most important part of this deck is Eldlich. Basically, most of these cards here help you get Eldlich, and help you keep bringing him back, because that's kind of his whole ordeal. He'll get sent to the graveyard, he can kind of just come back on the field with some cards, etc, etc. Now, let's go over some other cards. Right here is Ash Blossom. In case you don't know, as long as this card's in your hand, one time you can negate any effect. They do an effect on their monster, you can negate it, discard this card. Super useful card. You don't ever want to put this on field, but, unless you're going to use it as like a turner for some reason, but yeah, this card, I always keep in the hand. I don't really take it out. And we'll just go through the list. I won't talk about, every card and its importance, out of order, of course, but I will talk through every card. This simply destroys all cards and monsters on the field, because it's not a big deal if my monsters get sent to the graveyard. This sends all monsters to the graveyards. So, if they have some tricky hands, I can just do that. And I also have more down here, but this is in the form of a trap card, not start of turn. Start of turn, this card is way more impactful for this team, because in that turn we can still get more Eldliches back after banishing all their cards. Right here we also have Raigeki. This is a limited card because it's super good. Destroys all the monsters your opponent controls. It doesn't destroy your own. Super useful. Right here we have Monster Reborn, which targets a monster in either graveyard and special summons it. Now this is a useful card if you want to take some from their card, or even if you just want to use it to get an Eldlich back on the field. Either way works. I normally, depending the game, will take some from their graveyard, just because it can disrupt some decks. Right here we have Foolish Burial, which a lot of people don't run, but I personally think is a very useful card, because it just sends a monster from your deck to your graveyard. Because a lot of times it can be hard to get an Eldlich from either your hand. The hardest part is to get it from your hand, because it can take a lot of resources to get Eldlich out of your hand. It can take like 2 trap or spell cards on field and a card from your hand, just to kind of get Eldlich from your hand to your graveyard, and then from your graveyard to the field. So typically, I want to reduce the numbers and just take out 1 trap card or spell card on the field to summon Eldlich. So this card, super useful. This is another card I added on myself. This card here, when you place it down, it's a spell card, you can remove, destroy one of the opponents, or yourselves if you want, set downwards trap cards. Then in your graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then destroy one of their face-up spell/trap cards. This can also apply to your own. So basically you get 2 uses out of this, and it can, either way it can be seen as useful, because if they're running only face-up traps, you can banish it from your hand with summon an Eldlich or something from your hand, and you can banish it, and then you can, in your graveyard, activate it. Right here is Pot of Extravagance. At the start of your main phase, banish 3 or 6 random face-down cards from your extra deck, stuff down here, and then draw 1 card for every 3 cards, so you can essentially draw 2 cards if you banish 6 cards on here. Why this card is good is because on my Eldlich team, there's only 1 extra deck card I'm using, and that is situational. So I am perfectly okay with getting rid of all of these. So, having these draw cards, super useful. I have 4, because this card also kind of does the same thing, but you can choose the ones from extra deck. And after these cards are all, your damage taken is halved. Also activate cards from the top of your deck, equal to the number of cards banished. And then, yeah. So basically with Prosperity, you can choose cards put to the top. You choose 1 card, put to the top of the deck, rest go to bottom. It's not a card I'm hugely fond of. It's a card I'll probably take out, but also damage half is pretty useful, so who knows. Here is an important card. Curse Eldland. You cannot declare attacks except when monster zombies, which doesn't matter because these are monster zombies, and well, you can't use Ash Blossom to attack anyways, but this is a monster deck team, so this is useful. So this doesn't matter, because this is only on your side though. However, To use Curse Evelyn, you have to activate it, set it on the field. And then you can each turn activate Evelyn again, and then pay 800 life points, get an Eldlich monster or golden land trap from your deck to your hand. And if this card is sent to spell zone, like if this is just sent to your graveyard, you can send one monster Eldlich card from your deck to your graveyard. Essentially, a lot of times I'll use this, activate, I'll set it down, activate, pay the 800, get life point, lose life points, get an Eldlich in my hand, then take the Eldlich from my hand, put it in graveyard while getting rid of this card, then summon Eldlich to field. And then since it's in the graveyard, I can use this to get another Eldlich in the graveyard. It can be a super good way to possibly, if you use all your cards in your hands and stuff, you can possibly get 2 Eldliches in one turn. And this is really important starting. After that, you can kind of easily cycle in and out. So, we have 2 of those just for that. Now here's when we get down to all the fun cards. Before we do that, I'll explain the card in the extra deck. This one card right here is the only card in the special extra deck I care about. Basically, you can tribute 2 Eldliches, because it has to be level 10 cards, and once per turn, up to 2 times, you can do 2,000 damage to your opponent. Directly to the opponent, doesn't hurt the monsters. And it can also attack with 3,000 attack. Now, there are some draw sides to this. One of the cards here, I'll explain in a minute, can make it so this card can't do anything. You can't even use the card. And then Cursed End Land also means you can't attack with this card, but you can still use the activation and do 2,000 direct life point damage. So, worst case scenario, worst case scenario, you can't use the card. Worst case scenario, you can't use the card, but best case scenario, you can do 5,000 damage in 2 different turns, which is enough to kill. But yeah, a lot of times I don't see this card. It's not something I gun for. If I get it, I get it. It is nice to have, but a lot of times I'll set up other cards that will negate that. So first, here. So special summon 1 monster from your hand or graveyard. But if you control Eldlich, you can only special summon Eldlich. So basically, this card right here, and this card here, because I skipped over earlier, basically these just can special summon Eldlich from your hand or deck. But, if you don't have an Eldlich, you can only use Eldlich. And then also, you can, once it's in your grave card, you can, if you banish this card, you can set a golden land. Elixir Black Awakening. And then this card, if I'm not mistaken, okay, so also golden land. They basically do the same thing, besides that this one, we'll just put it in defense position, and this one does not, but they do the same exact thing. Oh no, Elixir Black Awakening can also take from your deck, so this is like a free Eldlich card, but it's in defense. So I've already talked over this card. Trap card, destroys all the monsters on the field. That's simple. This is another special summon card, deck or graveyard, but if you control Eldlich, you can only special summon Eldlich. Rest of this turn, after card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters, so it's a one-time, once per turn. If you activate this, you cannot do another one. So if you have, like, say, Black Awakening, do that first, then do Scarlet Sanguine. Sanguine? I don't know. Oh no, except for Zion Monster. So okay, you can do it again, and then you can set a golden land trap from your thing. I'm definitely gonna do more golden lands. I haven't really liked Prosperity too much, so I'm actually gonna do that, take that one out, and then craft another gold land later. Sure. Speaking of gold land, we're here now. When a spell trap card is activated while you control Eldlich monster, tribute 1 zombie monster, and then negate the activation. If you do so, destroy that card. So basically, this is just a trap card. If you have an Eldlich on your field, and they activate something, you contribute something you summoned, which a lot of times that can just easily be Eldlich, and you get rid of that card since you negated the activation. So it can be a good way to clear some of that enemy's cards and whatnot. Super simple. Now here's one of the most important cards, and like this card here can be a game changer, and so is the next one on multiple decks. Each player can only control one type of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. If this is activated and active, this can counter several decks. This can counter like Elemental Heroes. That's like the biggest one I can think about right now. And there's a lot of other decks where this like is just hurtful for them, because some decks, in order to like do some of their fusions, they have to place down some stuff that isn't the same type of monster. Sometimes using like warriors and like with beast to use like summons of like machineries or something. So a lot of times this card can win you games and will just make people leave. This can counter like Exodia, which is not a deck you should really be scared of anyways, but there's a lot of decks this can counter, and it doesn't really hurt you too much, since everything you're gonna summon, besides for Super Dreadnought, Route Cannon, everything you're gonna summon is Zombie type. And the next card, this one's also super, super important. Skill Drain. Activate this card by paying 1,000 life points, which, trust me, there's nothing wrong with spending life points. As long as you stay above half, you're honestly fine. But negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they're face-up on the field. So basically, if a random card can, once a turn, put one of your cards into the graveyard, they can't do that because Skill Drain is active. This is probably the most important card in the deck. Skill Drain and Rivalry Warlords are the most important cards in this deck. These right here, drawing these can win you game. All these other cards can just help you maintain the game, but these cards, like, from the start, can win you the game. There are some people that certain decks can't beat this. Like, some people don't keep spell deletions on their team, because a lot of times their cards in their hands can do that, and they're just relying on that. But then Skill Drain comes out, and then they lose. Actually, now that we're here, I don't want to do that. And I also I'm gonna cut out one of these cards. I have enough. Let's do that. I like that. Now we're down to 40. Kind of something I shouldn't be doing mid filming, but whatever. You can change decks slightly. Like, you build it how you want to build it. Anyways, now these cards here, these are a little special, ones. These are super useful. So basically, trap card, you can special summon them onto the field. The attack's not too bad, defense is alright. And then if you control Eldlich, you can banish a card from either graveyard. During end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then set an elixir spell or trap card directly from your deck. So basically, you put this unit out. If you have Eldlich out, you can summon an attack position, or defense if you want, doesn't really matter. And you can just banish a card from their graveyard. This can disrupt decks. There are some cards, like if they're building Exodia, and they're rocking only like one piece of each, I think you can actually rock two, you can just ruin their deck. Game's over for them. And yeah, you can also get Elixir cards, so Elixir Black Awakening, Elixir White Destiny, Elixir Scarlet Sanguine. These are all cards that will get you Eldliches from either your graveyard or your thing. You can just get more of them. But this next card is a card I like. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck, just because you summon it in defense position, because it's a trap card. And if you control Eldlich, you can destroy one face-up card on the field. This applies to spells. This applies to opponent's cards. This can just be a card that you just use. And damn, this sucks to be you. And then you can banish it, and then you set an elixir card from your deck. It's that simple. Also, I'm going to take one pot off, and then I really shouldn't be doing this mid-recording, but let's get another card. Because I'm just like looking at this deck, and I'm like, okay, how can I improve it before I'm like, here's my final deck. Realistically, I'll just also do this. I like having 41 cards, personal preference, just in case, because I've had matches go to the end of the deck, and having 41 cards has won me the game. So it's kind of a personal preference thing. But yeah, this is the deck. I would say copy it, see what you can do to change it. If there's anything you find better, leave it in the comments. If there's some cards you don't want in there and whatnot, that's okay. Tell me. I'll see if I like them more, because some people like Solemn Judgment and stuff, which is a card I don't like. For sure that's how you spell it. Pulled up just in case you don't know what Solemn Judgment is. When a monster would be summoned or a spell trap card activated, pay half of your LP. Negate the summon. If you do, destroy that card. Golden Land does that without using your LP, but you have to negate a card. This is good if you're low HP, but you're telling me you're gonna keep this on the field, or you're gonna keep it in your hand to then use it. To me, this is I wouldn't want to activate this until I'm under half HP, and even then I don't want to activate that. I don't want to lose all that HP. But yeah, this is my deck. Let me know how much this helps you, if at all. And if you have any ideas of what I should change, what I shouldn't, let me know. I'm down to change this deck, and this is probably not even my final version of the deck. Until then, take care.